And good afternoon. So this is the last presentation of the day, so I'm sure you're ready to get into this and look at some trends that I'm going to share with you as we go through today. This is me. Hello. So Gen Z, this young generation that we've been hearing a lot about over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And there's a lot of opinions. Not everybody's happy about this young generation. You know, they have a lot of opinions. They sometimes don't agree with everything that's been happening before. But kind of what generation ever have, actually? Every new generation that comes through has some criticisms about what's gone on before. And this generation have a lot of things that I really like. They're very much about sustainability, something very close to their heart. They don't always know everything about sustainability, but that's our job. So let's have a look through some of the trends. When we're talking about trends, I think it's important we also understand where we're at right now. Because trends are fashion, and fashion, I think the best description of fashion is change. It's about a reaction to something that's gone before. And where we are right now is we've been driven by COVID, affected all of the trends and all of our lives for a couple of years. And that affected the way that we were living. We were living at home, we were living on the sofa, we were putting on weight because we were eating so much and not able to get out and exercise. So this whole trend about comfort and loose-fitting garments has been with us for the last couple of years, driven coming out of COVID. But I really think that's about to change. There's some reactions happening now. We're a couple of years after COVID, and we need to move on, and we need to be doing new things. So I'm going to share today 7 different trends for female consumers, particularly for the American market. So the first one, that's my guy again. The first one's room to roam, obviously coming out of the trend that was set and the theme for denim and jeans Vietnam. It's been with us for quite some time, but it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay with us for a while. It's very much about comfort and those bigger, oversized fits. I think this really represents, you know, all these big, oversized garments, they're like a comfort blanket for us. They protect us, they let us hide, they don't let us show our body off because, you know, we've all become very conscious over the last few years. It also ties very well into the unisex trend. Because if you're working with these big oversizes, it's good for male, it's good for female. But maybe things are about to change, and I'm going to show a few things later where it is. Right now, we can still see it across the catwalks and on the streets, but because it's been around for a little bit of time with us. I really like what's going on this image on the right. This is Madewell, really good American female jeans brand. And I really like the way they do their looser fits, and they do them cropped all long, and then really styled together with this like crop top. And even though we're talking about jeans, I think it's really important as we look at images, we look at the accessories, the shoes on the female side, and what kind of tops they're styling with these outfits. So one of the things we do start to see to change is, okay, we've still got the loose bottoms happening, but we're starting to see a little bit more flesh being revealed, particularly with the tops, where we're not hiding as much as probably we were, and things becoming a little bit more feminine. I really like this one from Self-Portrait. Look at how on the back yoke, it's like a heart shape. You'll see as she turns now. And that's really helping to accentuate the curves of the female body, something that Han, the owner and designer of Self-Portrait, really works with. And it's actually, he really targets Asian consumers, whether or not they're here in Asia or whether they're in America. So all of his fits are designed for the Asian body. The second trend, see we're moving quite quickly through here. We started with the room to roam, because you know what that is. But right at the opposite end is the emergence of skinny again and close to the body. And I've called this Kate Moss meets Y2K. So really, if you imagine the mid-90s through to the year 2000, this is what's coming up again now. And Kate Moss was really the owner of this look. It was really a kind of 24/7 thing for her. Whether she was wearing high heels or trainers, she was always in these super tight, skinny looks. Frame do a really interesting version of that today. It's a little bit dark, sorry about that. And this look is coming back. So this moves us away from these really loose fits that we have been looking at in the past. Here we've got Gigi Hadid and Carly Kloss showing this in a modern way. And yes, there's different washes, the different looks, but also you can see it's going into crop or roll, and then the choice of shoes that you wear with that gives you a different look for depending on the occasion that you're going to be going to. So we talked a lot about comfort and all of this that's coming out of the last few years. And if we're going much closer to the body, comfort's still going to be important. The customer's not going to walk away from this comfort feeling and driver that they've had to make their purchases. And I think it's really interesting what Lycra have just come out with their latest innovation, the Fit Sense. This is a new technology that allows stretch to be put into localized positions on the jean to add comfort, and to also, they've done a lot of research around this. So, you know, they're talking about the research they've done with female consumers. Which parts of the body does a female consumer want more help with, want more comfort to be given? And this localized process, which is done on the yarn, really happens on the waist, the thigh, and the hip particularly, and then, of course, around the back on the seat. And if you're interested in this, I know Advanced Denim have been working very closely with Lycra on the development of this as one of their key partners. So it's quite interesting to see as a development. At the other end, we have the whole Y2K, and I really, really respect what Glenn Martins, the creative director at Diesel, has been doing over the last few years. This is almost like reimagining the Italian women's brands from the year 2000, brands like Miss 60 when they were hot, and really reworking that with all of these really extreme finishes, very low rise, and boot cut starting to come through. This is the other area with Glenn Martins. He's innovating in how you can put sensual fabrics mixed in with denim in a way we've not really seen done in the past. And I think he's really he's almost a technician in the way that he's designing and he's working at Diesel. And I think it's a really feminine look. It's very body conscious again, and again, moving us away from this super loose and hiding. Now we're really showing. So one thing that links this, at one end we've got this huge room to roam and the big and the baggy, and then at the other end we've got all this skinny and tight close to the body. And I think one of these things that links all this together style-wise is the re-emergence of bodycon as a trend. Here's Hailey Bieber and a shot from the Junjie Project's catwalk, and we're going from, still got these super loose bottoms, but look what's happening on the tops as they start to bring corsets and framing into the tops and being much more body conscious, and again, showing off the curves and the natural shape of the female body, which we've been hiding from for the last few years as we've not had the confidence as we came out of COVID. This one I really like. This is quite often when you're putting these trends together, you get garments that don't just fall into one because they all mix together, right? So this is Ibram Kamara from Off-White, and I really, really like this one. I'll come out the way so you can see it. So there's a couple of things happening here. We've got the micro dress. We've got bodycon on the top with all the paneling to really bring it together like a corset. But then at the bottom, you've got almost like an upcycled jean. So you've got the waistband on the bottom. And that's a completely new way of tying upcycling, recycling, bodycon, and corseting all together. And I think this is just a really interesting development. So I've got a couple of examples from Off-White, because I think what Ibram's doing is really, really interesting. We saw all those coats at the beginning from the room to Rome, which was super loose, hiding, like a comfort blanket that you could travel around with. Well, Ibrahim's taken that in a completely different direction, building this bodycon shirt, jacket, dress with the corseting inside. And there's nothing hiding here. This is very much going out and look at me. And I really like how this comes together. And then a last one, I think there's one more after this from Off-White. So this is interesting because now we're tying together the looks that we saw from Diesel earlier, from the Y2K, with the bootcut from the Y2K, but using cut and sew kind of upside down jeans. So you've got the waist on the leg, and then the body conscious corset going on the top. So there's a lot happening in these looks when it all comes together. But it kind of works, and it's quite an interesting way of combining different trends and different ideas. Here's the last one from Off-White. I really like this one. It's a little crop jacket and a skirt with the bodycon, with the paneling, with all the seams. There's a lot of work going on, but I really like it. And it's got a lot of visual value to this. The consumers can really see what they're going to be paying for because it's coming out in the design. Last one for this story. This is really interesting again for me because now we're using the new technology to start showcasing ideas. So this is a stretch dress that you can see here. It looks like it's cut and sew. It looks like there's all these seams going on, but actually they're not. It's printed. So it's really this trempe effect, and this is actually just printed onto the fabric all the way down. And then they've just added some real lace at the bottom. The whole part here, this is just print. So this new printing technology really allows us to show things in a completely different way. And yeah, I've seen a lot from Stella Blue, for example, Prosperity, working with this new printing technology. Sometimes you can use it in a way that's about just replicating something from the past, like a vintage garment. But there are other ways we're going to play with this as well when we go into our next trend, which is called Art Zone. So that didn't really work. There should have been some sound there, but we'll move on. Here we go. So Art Zone is using all the latest technologies to bring together our creativity and how to showcase that on a product in ways we've never been able to do in the past. One of the guys that's really good at this is Juan Manuel Gomez. We call him Juan Ma. It's much easier to say. And he's an artist from Colombia. And he started painting actually with indigo when he was a teenager because he couldn't afford paint. That's pretty cool, right? He can't afford paint, so he starts with indigo, and that created a whole career for him. First of all, as an artist, when he paints, he goes under the name of Deveur Azul, and if you follow his Instagram, there's some incredible paintings, and you can purchase his paintings. I know Jason Denham has one of these on his wall at home. It's very collectible. But he also, Juan Ma, works for Oficina 39 with chemical creation, finishing creation on jeans, putting commercial looks together. So really, really talented guy, and one of the nicest people in the industry, actually. So this is pretty cool, because now we're showing off all of our creativity again. We've got a jean with charms and chains and paint splayed all over it. Let's have a look. It's kind of a boyfriend fit, but very expressive. But none of that is real. That's all a trempe print, again, done from this latest print technology. And when I first saw this, I just thought, oh, that's a really cool image. We'll show the image because it shows the art and the creativity. And then I started to realize actually it's just printed from Acne Studios in Sweden. So this new printing technology, I think, has really found its time now. It's a completely new way of doing things, and it's much quicker, actually, than going through all the processes and all of the things we do to make finishes on jeans. And again, lasers have been around a long time, but now we start to see that creativity coming through with the laser. The image on the left is from the Cannes Film Festival just a couple of weeks ago, and it's very clear how these are created for us in the industry. Customers have no idea, but I think that's the magic that's happening now with the technologies that we can use. And then from Loewe, so here we see very high-end luxury brands bringing denim in, but doing this in a completely different way. So they're not looking for whiskers, they're not looking for vintage, they're looking at how they can use art and expression to put onto garments. And then you look at the top and the bottom together. I really like all these crop tops. They're loose, they come into that room to roam, but actually they're a little bit more sensual. They're not just big and baggy and hiding everything, which is where we've been. And then this is one of my favorites. So Paulino Rosso is a new brand, very new brand. It's two designers that graduated from Central St. Martin's in London, the design school. And they visited a cave system in the UK called the Royston Caves, which has all these intricate 18th century medieval style carvings on the wall. And then they used those carvings as inspiration for starting to do finishing with laser onto denim. And I think it's interesting the way that people can find their inspiration to create something new and very exceptional. I really like this quote from them. Those stones were carved thousands of years ago, and today we're doing the same thing. As children, we used colored chalk to draw on the pavement, or we put the symbols and doodles on our clothes. These are ideas that have endured for thousands of years, and I think we're very inspired by that collective consciousness. And as Rousseau, one of the designers from that collective. And you really see it coming through on the garments. So we're using art and creativity to give very visual looking new garments. Okay, now we're going to have a little bit of fun, because the Western trend has been coming up over the last few seasons, and it's just had a really big bump as Beyoncé released her new country and Western R&B album. She released it during the Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago in the US. You know, the Super Bowl was like the biggest viewing figures for a TV program in the world, and she took a slot showing her new video. So let's have a look at that. And Buddy's going to join in as well. Beyoncé together on stage. You will only see that here at Denim and Jeans, that's for sure. But it was really interesting, this video, because this is Beyoncé, the world's biggest R&B star, doing a country and Western album. And then, I don't know whether you know, but she has her own brand called Ivy Park, which is a streetwear brand. And all the clothes that were in the video were done in collaboration with Adidas. So she's releasing a new album, going into a new genre of music, using her partnership with Adidas, with her own streetwear brand to really promote the complete look. It's like a full concept when you've got video, music, and fashion all coming together at the same time with a real influencer like Beyonce. And I think you just see the look starting to come through as Western wear continues to be of interest, particularly in America. Another version that we see happening is Pharrell Williams with his creative leadership at Louis Vuitton. Back in April, he did a fashion show, men's fashion show in Arizona, so really in the heart of the west of America, and he did only Western wear inspiration garments. And so it's coming at luxury, it's coming at street level, and it's coming in music. And that all comes down into street looks that are getting adopted by a completely different crowd than what you'd expect in America to be taking Western wear in the past. Cut, paste, and trim is an upcycling, recycling look that's finally taking hold, not just at the lower end of the market, but all the way through to luxury. So I've got a couple of examples here. It all started with this craft-inspired, upcycling that we've always seen, and denim's a perfect vehicle for that because you have a long-lasting fabric that's never gonna go, right? You can resew it, you can recut it, you can remake it, and you can use all these different shades of denim to create very interesting patterns. And that's always been there. I think what's different now is that you start seeing brands doing this on a very commercial level, and that's allowing young startup brands. This is Mateo from Hong Kong. Young couple wanted to start a brand, cannot get to the minimums of a normal fabric order, but if you're upcycling and using second-hand jeans, your minimums are nothing. Your sustainability footprint is extremely low because you're not dyeing, or all you need to do is launder that product from the beginning, and there's a ready available set of fabrics for you to be able to work with, and you can work very quickly, so your lead times are very quick. So you just need ideas and a way of expressing that, and that's what these young brands are starting to do. But at the same time, we see luxury, really high-level, expensive luxury brands doing upcycling and taking this on board. Some of them in a serious way, some of them more in just a trend way. One of my favorites is East London Vintage, who upcycle second-hand jeans, and they create this stripe look by combining the jeans together. And this has become a real signature for them as a brand. Those jeans will retail at $600-700 US. The cost of that product is almost nothing because they're just using upcycling denim. So what people are paying for is the design content they're putting in. And they're in Nordstrom's or Selfridges or Lane Crawford in Hong Kong. They're really at a luxury level and they're selling through. And then we see brands like Balenciaga who aren't doing upcycling, but are kind of copying that trend of fitting jeans together, which, you know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Not all luxury brands are just copying or being inspired. I really like this from Miu Miu. Miu Miu being one of the real premium brands and luxury brands coming out of Italy. What they've done is a whole new program which was devised to uphold the precious nature of vintage clothing. And they really only took vintage garments pre-2000, right? Pre-2000 is not that old to me. My jeans are much older than that. But pre-2000 was kind of the benchmark they're using. And then they're working with collectors from all over the world to find the right shade, the right product. And then, again, they're selling them at Miu Miu's regular prices. And they're trying to make these collectible. So they're even working with Aura to make them blockchain verified. which means if you want to sell it on in the future, you've got proof that this is a product from Prada, that it's authentic, it's real, it's original. So I think it's interesting the way they bring all of these components together. And then the last one in this part, this brand's called Better, and the spelling of the brand is correct, even though I'm very dyslexic. Normally they're wrong. That one is how they spell their brand. And I don't know how to describe this one, because this jean's got 3 waistbands. You have the normal waistband up on the top, but if you look on the legs, it's also an upside down jean turned into the leg of an upcycled way of working. So you've got the waistband on the bottom as well as on the top, and it's a really nice cut. It really fits in with the Y2K things and the other trends we've been looking at. So apart from Gen Z, I think there's another whole market that we've been missing, because we're very good in the fashion industry about dropping things into boxes. We have our Gen Z, which you have to be between 12 and 27. And then we have the millennials, which are 28 to 38, or whatever we decide the number is. But I think there's a whole area which crosses over between Gen Z and millennials, which I call Z-lennials. And this is the older Gen Z, so maybe 25, 26 plus, and the younger millennials, so kind of under 35. And that block actually have huge spending power, because they're already in work, they're already out there earning a living, and they have disposable income. They have occasions where they need to dress up or dress down, they need to go to the office, they need to go to meetings, so they need to create certain looks. So I think this is a very interesting area of consumers that are coming together. Stella McCartney does a really good job about catering for them. I really like this. So yes, we've got a relaxed boot cut, but look at kind of the very sophisticated bling that's going on the waistband. So it's visual, but done in a very interesting way. And then Acne Studio also playing in this area with super loose, but look at the waistband. And look at how they're coordinating this with the handbag, the shirt, the shoes, the whole look's coming together in a certain way. Another brand doing this very well is Frame. And I think when you're going with these really looser silhouettes, but trying to get a very feminine look, I think you need to be looking at fabrics like Tencel, where you've got that a little bit more sophisticated, soft fabrics, but with all the new treatments that Tencel's doing today, so you still get the structure and the authenticity coming through in the fabric. Ulla Johnson is a really interesting designer in New York. I really like the way the pin tucks down the front of the jean are looking. It's kind of smart, casual, and we know when we do these kind of pin tucks on the legs, it elongates the legs, so the girl's legs look longer, which doesn't matter where you are in the world. Every girl would like her legs to look longer. I've seen so many studies around that. And then Bottega Veneta doing very similar area, but different silhouette, but also very nicely put together. And then quick look at another new silhouette. And again, looking at the accessories, the shoes, the way they're putting the tops together, is a much more sophisticated look for this Z-lennial. And then Frame, I really love this one with the crochet down the seam. So we still get like this visual comfort that we've got used to with the blankets and all the other parts, but a very, very nice looking jean. Can imagine that's beautiful to wear. And then finally, Stella McCartney. Can imagine going out in the evening. Love these mirrors hanging off the bottom. You can imagine not very practical, but I can also imagine how this could melt down into more commercial collections where you're using the mirrors, but maybe not in the same amount, maybe just on the top in the way that that is. And that being a very interesting reason to buy. for a consumer. There's something a little bit different that they haven't seen before. And then finally, self-portrait, really getting into that kind of Fiorucci going out, 1979 kind of look, where he's got diamantes and crystal going on all over the jean, which I didn't think I would like until I saw the video, and I really like that one. So I've called this Jeaneration Z, 7 different trends that are happening today. I think it's a very broad look because, like I say, we're going from room to Rome all the way through skinny, into the bodycon, the Western wear, the art zone, and the cut, paste, and trim, where we're talking about the upcycling looks that are happening both on a low, interesting market level all the way up into premium and very, very high prices. Thank you.